Hi, everybody. So my name is Carissa Kingsbury. I am the College and Career Coordinator and Aspire Coordinator here at Cook County High School. So I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about the FAFSA today. I'm going to show you where to find that information that can be helpful and how to access the website and some tricks and tips with that. So first things first, we are going to go to the high school website. So that is cchs.crookcounty.k12.or.us. That website is very helpful for many things, but this is where we can find our Future Center page that has links to the FAFSA, scholarships, and much more. So two different ways you can get to the Future Center page. You can click on quick links down to the Future Center, or you can click on counseling and go to the Future Center. So we're going to start with counseling and Future Center. Click on that. Then it's going to take you to a page that has my contact information, videos for the College and Career Talk Thursdays or sometimes Tuesdays, depending on the week. And a little bit lower, some buttons that go over some of our information that we might need for college and career readiness, such as scholarships, first year of college guide, useful college and career and trade planning information, the Oregon Promise and transcripts, and much more. So we are going to be in the FAFSA, ORSAA, and grants button today. So we're going to click on that. And once we're in this page, it's going to give you a brief overview of the FAFSA and ORSAA. So what the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And the ORSAA is the Oregon application for students who are undocumented to be able to receive funding for their education, just like the FAFSA, but you have to be a citizen to use the FAFSA. So you just have to use the ORSAA instead, which is found on the OregonStudentAid.gov website, which I'll tell you about in a second. So what the FAFSA does is it basically helps determine the financial need for your funding for education. Some schools require you just to fill it out because they need to know. Some scholarships require it. Not necessarily that you need to have a certain income. Sometimes it's income-based for applications like scholarships. But I do suggest filling out the FAFSA. And the reason why is because you might get a grant and you might not know. And also the Oregon Promise. The Oregon Promise is the 2-year grant that can help pay for community college for up to 2-year degree at any Oregon community college. It's only sometimes based on income. So this last year it was based on income, but we only had 2 students who were denied, and they were able to then go through a Cook County School District program to be able to pay for their first year at CCHS. So the reason why I say to do the FAFSA is because the Oregon Promise requires you to have that completed. So if you don't complete this and have the application for the OSAC and the Oregon Promise and you get denied, but you didn't fill this out because you got denied because you didn't fill it out, you wouldn't qualify for some of those backup plans. So it's really not that hard, and I promise I'll tell you how to do it to make it quick. So this will determine, again, your financial aid status, and unless you are 25 or married, you have to go based on your either parents or your guardians or whoever claims you on your taxes that you're a dependent of. That's who you'd have to list. And we'll go into that a little bit. So a little bit lower, it shows determining your dependency status. So if you have parents who are married and file jointly, it's a little bit easier to have all that information ready to go. If you have step parents who are married and they file taxes together, that's who you'd use. If you have parents who are divorced, but they both have split custody of you, it would be whoever has you for more days. So basically, there's always one person that has the child for one extra day. So basically, you want to use whoever is your financial aid parent is the one that has custody over you or has you more days at those times. So this little video right here will kind of describe some of that information more in detail. I also have handouts, and I can definitely help you through that process if you have more questions about that. So I would check out this video and reach out if you need help. Next thing is the tips for parents with a FAFSA ID. So basically what the FAFSA ID means is the username and password to log into the FAFSA. So this will give information about how to apply. Some of the biggest mistakes and the most common mistake I've seen is when parents try to fill out their FAFSA and they for their student and they accidentally use their information because they may have had their own FAFSA, or I've seen a student who got denied financial aid for last fall term because their parent put that they were married, but really the parent was married and not the student, and so then it caused some issues, and by the time it got fixed, they weren't able to go fall term and missed out on the Oregon Promise and all sorts of things. So we want to make sure that we're not having those errors happen, and also checking back to make sure that the FAFSA was completed correctly and there's no issues, because it will get kicked back and there will be issues. And normal if there isn't mistake, and your school will usually tell you, but you want to make sure you're reaching out and checking and making sure everything's good to go. But the biggest thing I suggest is to log in as a student, fill out the application, and then at the end, it'll have you sign in as a parent. So that's where you'd log in. If you don't have one created, that's where you'd create one too. So that is the best way I suggest to do it versus going into the parent account. You don't want to do that. I suggest going through as a student and then signing in and signing the document to complete as the parent. So next is a video about the FAFSA. So this is a very nice, very well laid out and described video by someone for the 2020-21 FAFSA. So this is last year's FAFSA. I couldn't find one for this year. There's probably one out there, but I wanted to make sure it was legitimate and very good detail. So this one goes over every single section, every single question. So you want to go through this. The biggest parts are the parent demographics. So having the parent information and the parent financials. So the parent financials, it's going to ask you about how you filed on your taxes. So if you can have a copy of your tax return, that's going to make this go by super smoothly. If you can't get that, you can get pretty far in this process, and the data retrieval tool on the FAFSA is something you want to use if you can. So what that is depending on if you say that you've filed, married, filing jointly, single, different options, it'll let you pull all the information over from the IRS. And then you only have to actually type in your total adjusted gross income and your taxes taken out for 2019. It is always going to be the prior year's taxes. It's never the current year. And the reason why is I don't really know why, but they use the 2019 taxes. But for those right now who might have a significant change in income or employment due to COVID, this is an awesome opportunity to then reach out to the schools. So you want to fill out the FAFSA with your 2019 taxes still. But then once it's completed and you've applied to the schools, it'll get attached to your account at the school you want to go to. Then you're going to reach out to them and say, hey, I've had a significant change in employment and income. I want to know if it helps my financial aid status. So then they can actually determine based on that school your financial aid. So it's not just the FAFSA application. And yes, it would be nice to just be able to use it, but this is just how they do it. And so you want to make sure that you then reach out to the school if there is a significant change. If there isn't, then that's okay. We'll just look at that. But this goes over all that information. So you no longer have to necessarily, sometimes if it doesn't pull over, you do, but you don't have to enter it line by line by line anymore. So it's so much quicker. I myself have filled out the FAFSA and I can do it now in about 10 minutes if I have all my stuff in front of me. So like my tax information, just to know the adjusted gross income and taxes. But once I get through all that, it's quick. So if you have all that information in front of you, it's really something to get off the list and out of the way so you don't have to be worrying about that. And again, this walks you step by step. So this is a very helpful video. So I would really suggest looking at that. Again, if you're an undocumented student, you would fill out the ORSAA. If you are a citizen, but your parents are not, you would still fill out the FAFSA. So if a student is a citizen, but their parent is not, they're going to fill out the FAFSA. If the student is not a citizen, but their parent is, they're going to fill out the ORSAA. The reason being is when you go into the FAFSA, the student's a citizen, but the parents could still fill out taxes. So then you would just put in zeros in their social security number. So if a parent is undocumented and doesn't have a social security number, you put in zeros. If they have an identification number, you'll enter that there. And then you just go through the process the same way. Again, if the student is not a citizen, you would go to the ORSAA, so OregonStudentAid.gov, which is the OSAC website, and you would fill out the ORSAA there. So it's a good opportunity to be able to get financial aid. And then a little bit lower, there's some information about grants and all that, and some more detailed information of the ORSAA in Spanish and other options. So we're next going to go to the FAFSA website. So the FAFSA website right here is the FAFSA. We're going to type in fafsa.ed.gov. And it'll redirect you to the studentaid.gov website. And you always want to click on the start here for the new to the FAFSA process. Even if you have completed the FAFSA before, you always want to click on start here, new to the FAFSA process, if you haven't finished your FAFSA application. If you've completed it and you just need to go change something or check something, you're going to go to returning user. So this is where you can correct an issue. So if you needed to make a change or add a school, such as correct info add school, then you can go in there. But I still suggest always doing the click here to make it a little bit easier on yourself. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. We start here, And then it brings you to the FAFSA website where you will have information about where to log in. So if you were to go to this website in just a second, hopefully my internet, there we go. And it says, I am the student, I am the parent. So again, like I said, you want to do I am the student and log in. If you don't have a username and password, the FAFSA ID, you're going to click right here, click create one. And that way you can start your profile. You do have to have the student's social security number to be able to create that profile. If you don't, it won't let you because you have to verify that you're a person. So then right here on the I am a parent prepared, this is where you could maybe go in and sign the student's FAFSA. But I, again, say log in as a student, go through the application, and then at the very end where you have to sign to verify your income and to agree to submit the FAFSA, that's where you're going to want to enter in your username and password. If you don't have a username and password, again, you just register for your FAFSA ID here and be able to do that. So I would suggest going through, getting familiar with this. Again, on the main page of the FAFSA website where we typed in the FAFSA.ed.gov, if you go a little bit down, it's going to give you some information about FAFSA deadlines for the state and the year that you want to go. And then also the complete the form, review what to expect. So this is going to tell you the documents you need. I'll tell you right now, but then this is if you forget what I said, you can go back here and look. I also have some handouts in the Future Center that you can come grab too. So we're going to click on this and it gives some information about the FAFSA ID, creating a FAFSA ID and how to do that, how to reset it if you forget your password. You do not want to forget it. So you want to write it down, put it in a, however you save your username and passwords, put it in your phone, something like that. So you want to make sure you don't lose it because it's a pain to reset it. Next is the documents that you need. So again, it's the social security numbers for students and parents, whoever they're dependent of. Again, if your parents don't have a social security number, you're going to enter in zeros. If they have an identification number, they're going to put in that. Driver's license number. So if parents have driver's license number, if students don't have one, or they have a permit, you'd still put that ID number in. So you do want to list it if you do have an ID. If you don't, then you don't need to list it. Again, right here, the registration number, if you're not a US citizen and you have an ID number, you'll put that in the social. If you don't have either one, it's zeros. And then again, it says to have your tax return information and records of untaxed income and your cash and savings and assets. So those are the main things you need. So if you have all the information ready to go, it's going to be a really easy process. And so I want to let you guys know if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me. I would love to make an appointment to talk to you guys, help you fill it out through the Zoom or even in person. I can help you. I've filled out so many of these applications and help people that I know a lot of the quirks and tips and tricks. So I'd love to help in any way I can. Again, you can call the front office at the high school and my extension is 3115, or you can email me and I'll have my information on this. But thanks for listening and I hope it was helpful.